Welcome to another episode of Perfect and Powerful Stories. And to celebrate the release of HBO's The Last of Us series tonight, we're going to do a deep dive into games. So let's get the intro started.
Close your eyes. It'll be worth it.
Okay.
So for this discussion today, I'm your host, Josh Woodbury, and my co-hosts today are Edgar Ortega.
Hey. Glad to be back for another episode of the podcast. And what better topic than to talk about The Last of Us? Just what, a couple, like four and a half hours away from the show?
3 hours,
kind of. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited and kind of get into how we all found the video games and what the games mean for us, what to expect from these adaptations. So, yeah.
And my other co-host for today, Evan Harris.
Yeah, I'm excited. Last of Us is easily one of my favorite video games of all time. I've been playing it ever since 2013. I'm stoked to talk about this whole part 1 and part 2. Yeah, I love this. I love this game so much. I'm so excited for the show. Can't wait to talk about it.
And the only game you ever play every day, daily.
I mean, literally, I've been playing, I played the story mode in 2013. And then ever since I beat the story, I've been playing the online factions mode from 2013 to 2023. It's like the longest running
10 years.
10 years, the longest running multiplayer I've ever played. It's instantly addicting and replayable. In every game, there's something new. But for the story mode, I played the story mode for part 1 at least over 10 times. Like, I played at least 3 times on the PS3. I got remastered the year after, June 2014, and played it then like 3 to 4 times there. And then I got part 1 on the PS5. So I've been playing over and over and over again, not including how many times I've played part 2. So I've played this game. I've lived with these characters for so long, and now I get to see these characters in live action.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
I got this game like the summer it released on PS3, played it, fell in love. Then I kind of like took a break, but I played other games, had other like focuses and stuff. Then when I got PS4 in like 2015, 2014, I played the remastered and fell in love again. And ever since then, it's been like my favorite game of all time. Then part 2 came out, and now that's my favorite game of all time. Like this upped itself. Like this series is so special to me, and these characters are so nuanced, and like there's just so many good moments. It's one of my favorite stories ever.
Oh yeah.
You guys kind of played it like right when it came out, then, right? Like PS3
100%.
and all that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At the time I was the Xbox boy. I had the 360 when it was like between that and the PS3. So I didn't get the chance to play it until I got the PS4. Played the remastered one, and man, it was just like so immersive. And I think I played it like a couple of times. I don't know how you can play part 2 more than once. Not because I love part 2, but it's just such a miserable.
I played it twice, but it's like the thing is, it's a heavy story, but the gameplay is so enticing.
It's so cool, so good.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's heavy in the beginning. The first hour is like the heaviest hour ever. But then once you do that, once you're in revenge mode, it gets incredibly thrilling, and I can't stop putting it down after the like Joel's dad. So I'm like, oh wow, this gets deep. So yeah, I love part 2. Yeah, I still haven't played part 2 with the what's it called, permadeath mode.
No,
where it's like,
that's
if you
not
die
for me.
once-
That stuff's not for me.
I really want to try that on part 1 and part 2. I haven't done that yet. But I'm ready for the challenge because I played this game so many times. I know the levels, and even though part 1 has some different enemies than like the initial game / remastered, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I love the story so much. I have a lot of these clips in my mind just from memory of playing these games so much. This game is just so masterful. I remember hearing about this game even before, like, when it released. Like, I was a huge Uncharted fan, so I knew all about Neil Druckmann driving the force behind Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, and then to have him, like, or most of Uncharted 2, and then hearing about this new game, getting Last of Us, and then seeing it happen ever since 2013, it's been incredible. Also, one of the first podcasts I ever did on this space with Nathan. Yeah, it was just with Nathan. We did a 3.5 hour podcast.
I remember that
on Last of Us Part 2 alone, because we went from day to day. Ellie day 1, Seattle day 2, Abby day 3, all that stuff. So
probably won't go that long, but
probably not. No.
Yeah.
We have places
But
to eat.
where should we start? Should we start? We already talked about how we got into the game.
Noah!
Oh no!
I mean, I need that too. Yeah.
Oh Jesus Christ! Heyo.
Let's just start with the opening of the first game. Probably one of the most iconic and heartbreaking moments in video games.
Yeah.
Easily.
That sequence is like 10 minutes long or so. No, in video games. How long do you think it's gonna be in the show?
It's like 20, 30 minutes in the game.
No, I speed it. I can speed it in like 10 minutes easily.
Yeah,
of course you can.
But like, if you go straight to what you're supposed to do, if you don't look out the window, if you don't watch the news, you can just speed run it in like 10 minutes flat. Yeah, I mean, what I'm excited for like the TV shows, like, it's definitely going to extend upon Sarah and Joel's relationship, a la like A Quiet Place Part 1 or Part 2 with that prologue there, with that baseball game or whatever. Like, I think we're gonna get some good backstory between Sarah and Joel. But in regards to the game, I think it's genius that we start out here. I mean, you kind of have to really establish Joel as the kind of person he is. Instantly, you see Joel with Sarah. You don't see a mother figure around. You realize Joel's caring for this daughter by himself. It's kind of like these visual clues that aren't really said in the game, but you kind of get it from just the characters themselves. And Joel is just a fantastic father. I mean, at least a loving father to Sarah. And immediately when like shit's hitting the fan, you see how protective and how loving he is. And it kind of really, it's his cornerstone in life. Yeah. Oh my gosh, some good stuff. Happy birthday to Joel. Right? Wasn't it? Yeah, wasn't it Joel's birthday?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Gave him that watch.
Like, oh, that's my phone.
Nice phone.
How should we do it? Should we like this or like this for the B-roll?
Ooh, I like that one.
I like
that
this.
One. Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah. Man,
yeah, she's knocked out. It's so interesting. I always love the fact that they use the watch because the watch is very key to Joel's character. Like, Joel starts out here, of course, very loving father. He cares for Sarah so much, so deeply. And in this prologue, unfortunately, at the end, we lose Sarah. And at that moment, when he comes into altercation with the government, one of the bullets hits the clock or hits the watch, and it stops. And I think that's very intentional because that's Joel getting stuck in that period of time, that period of loneliness, darkness, whatever you want to call it. Joel is stuck in this position. His clock is stuck. His character is stuck until he comes across.
I love that
Ellie.
That little like metaphor. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really genius. Just small little things, and it comes back towards the end of the game too, when he like looks at his watch and stuff like that when he has to do what he has to do in the hospital. But yeah, it's so. I mean, this game in general. Oh Jesus, Dom, what are you showing me? Oh, what are you showing?
Well, be ready. You're gonna see it again later.
Oh, fuck.
Later tonight. Fuck, man, I am not ready for that moment.
Oh, I'm not ready for like the casual audience to see that moment. This moment is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's gonna mess people up, especially the interaction between like them and the I don't know soldier, whatever he was.
Yeah, because he calls on the radio. He's like, "Are you sure, sir? There's a dog. There's a kid here." She said something like that.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, and then he has to reluctantly like, oh, I can't wait to see how they play it in the show here. Oh my god, it's so tense because like in the game there's like a zombie, there's a runner chasing them. So you're already scared. Then you run into you think is your savior. There's lights shining down. You're like, there's freedom, there's safety, but it's not. It's the opposite. And again, you can see the watch, the bullet stuck the watch. He's physically stuck in that traumatic experience that he just can't escape from for a lot of the game. And oh my god, it's so heartbreaking. This is why I love Joel. Joel's one of my favorite characters. Joel and Ellie. One of my favorite.
They're like they're my favorite characters in games. It's just like
it's great.
The story like that you go on with them throughout both games. It's just like they're so nuanced.
Yeah, that's the power of like Naughty Dog storytelling. Like I would add in like Nathan Drake is one of my favorite characters too. It's a fun adventure game, but there's a lot of depth in those games, and they bring a lot of that depth here to The Last of Us because it's a dark world. I guess we should say this up front, right? Like this is a very dark world, a pandemic, a virus, a disaster has struck across this world. But we quickly realize, while there are monsters in the essence of like runners, clickers, stalkers, etc., the real monsters are inside of us all in terms of like what humans can become. It's one of my favorite things about like The Witcher, right? The Witcher, one of the main themes about The Witcher is that like there's craziness, monsters, but a lot of the bad things are really just your everyday people. Like the politics, the people themselves are really the bad part. And that's part of The Last of Us too. With like characters like David in this game. It's crazy. But yeah, this prologue is incredible. I love it so much. When does this take place again? This 2013? I forget.
I think it might be 2013. Yeah. Is the show taking like the same like on the same time period? Or is it like?
That's why I asked. I believe they're doing something different with it.
I want to say they're doing 2003, but I could be wrong.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Yes, you're right. Because people are upset because they're like, oh no, Ellie can't play the PS3 anymore. But yeah, I think it's doing 2000 because there's a 20-year time skip from this to the present day.
So would that be 83 then 2003?
No, it'll be 2003 to 2023.
Oh, got it.
So we get to our present day.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because like you don't have any technology, so like it makes the whole like breakout of the virus or whatever like even more horrific, because like obviously like even in 2013 like you have like you have phones, you have social media, but like in 2003 like the news kind of like starts coming out like slower, so it could make like that entire prologue even more like I don't know like horrific, like with people being like oblivious to it.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. Like 2003, like, we're still in modernish day, early 2000s, but there's a big technological difference between 2003 and 2013. So I wonder if the show is really going to dive into that. But again, we didn't mention it, but like the show has the person that created
Neil Druckmann. I think we should go back to when I set a groundwork for this game. Like this is the studio that did Crash Bandicoot. Obviously, one of the most popular mascot platformers of the PlayStation 1, which I love Crash Bandicoot so much. It's a great like childhood nostalgic game for me. Specifically Crash 2 is so good.
I never got into Crash.
Really?
No.
It's surprising coming from you.
I know. Like my first Naughty Dog game, I think, was Uncharted 2. Unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, because I did 2, 1, then 3. But yeah, I think my first Naughty Dog game was Uncharted 2 because I saw in Walmart we can go in and play like a demo.
Well, old days now.
Good old days, right? That was me for Naughty Dog and Uncharted. So, yeah. I think I first started playing that with my PS3.
and they also had Jak and Daxter. So they were like in
yes,
PlayStation 1 era, they had like the platformers, 3D platformers and stuff.
I forgot.
And they really broke out with the Uncharted series.
You're right.
PlayStation 3.
I forgot all about. I'm an idiot. Jak and Daxter, of course.
Yeah.
One of my favorite gaming series of all time. Like, if I tell you the amount of hours I put into Jak 2 and Jak 3, like, it's ridiculous. Like, I burned those discs on my PS2. Like, those are my favorite games. And Jak is a great character too, who was also dealing with a lot of trauma and darkness in Jak 2 and in Jak 3. Between the light and the dark and eco and all that kind of stuff is very interesting. But yeah, they take a more human route beginning with the PS3, with the Uncharted series. They take a big shift.
Yeah, then I actually haven't played the first 3 Uncharted games.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
See, that's my blind spot, the Nighty Dog.
Wow!
I have played 4. I have played Lost Latency, which are both great.
You're missing the layout for the payoff.
I know.
Oh my! You monster! Wait, you played Uncharted 4, but not 1, 2, and 3.
It was great. I knew the story of like Nathan Drake, but I never played like the first 3 games.
That's an interesting
I really need to
experience.
though.
Yeah,
because I was like PS3.
Mm-hmm.
I only got right at launch. Then I only like played it for like specific games like Last of Us, because I was mostly 360.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah. Both of you guys are 360 kids. Okay, nice.
Well, I only had one, and this guy had both of them.
Well, because I got like PS3 for Christmas, and I actually my friends went to Xbox, so.
Gotcha. But yeah, they really evolved, going from like those not kid games, because Jak definitely isn't just for kids; it's a pretty adult game as well.
Yeah, it's more like goofy,
cartoonish, but slightly mature, and then slowly evolves into more like cinematic storytelling,
action adventure.
Yeah, like Uncharted 1 kind of was the big framework, like clunky gameplay aside in Uncharted 1, like with the 2008, the jumping mechanics still aren't great, even in the remastered versions. But Uncharted 2 kind of changed the game for gaming, in terms of like
storytelling,
cinematic story. Like, this is a movie. The thing about movies, movies and game, like it really combined the two so well. Like Uncharted 2 is still one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah.
When I go back and like the few times that I've gone back and played Uncharted 1, sometimes I kind of get vibes like this kind of feels like a test run for like The Last of Us, especially when you get to like the third act and you get to the monsters like section of with those like creatures. I don't know if you remember them, Evan.
Oh yeah, at the end of Uncharted 1.
Yeah.
Like, those things are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the undead zombies. But yeah, that has some good horror in there too, like kind of setting the seeds for clickers and craziness in the Last of Us franchise. But yeah, and then they teased Last of Us in 2011
at the Game Awards.
2011 at the Game Awards. Yeah, the early teaser.
We want to watch that first teaser.
Oh gosh, do you have it?
I don't have it right now, but I can.
Oh yeah, go ahead, because they do not look like Joe and Ellie. They look very different. I remember seeing this all the time because in 2011 I was knee deep in Uncharted 3, which came out that year, and I was just finishing the Uncharted trilogy. I was so sad, but then Neil Druckmann and the crew said, like, here's a teaser for Uncharted, or for our next project, and whenever you played the Uncharted 3 multiplayer, this teaser would be the first thing that you see.
Oh, really?
Like, they had a thing where, like, when you're loading for a match, you can still watch like clips of people playing games, or they would show this teaser in some of them, and I would constantly play Uncharted 3 and see this teaser every day. So I was like getting more and more excited. And then 2 years later, Last of Us comes out in 2013, and they look totally different. But
I didn't know this. Like they had like entire different look.
Yeah, you'll see in this.
Really? I remember this trailer being like the scene from the game.
It is technically, but it's like pre-rendered alpha footage.
Oh yeah.
So you'll see when you if you can find it.
I found it.
But yeah, they look pretty different. I was so excited to see this up front, and it looks very, very interesting. Oh man, it's been a minute. In the PS3 system,
we're all
720p.
720.
It is 720p. Yeah.
Is it? That's amazing. Oh man.
It's funny how people lost their minds back then, and this would be like not even average.
I know. Yeah, we were like, "Oh my god, blood!
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like, oh, this is brutal. Oh shoot! Like, this is seemingly from the hotel level.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Or
like, oh
the
shit!
oh wow, yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, Joel looks kind of the same. You're right.
Hey,
There you are. Are you okay?
Ellie looks
That
more like
guy.
Elliot Page.
Search him.
Yeah.
We'll take care of his buddy and then we quit this place.
Scavenging, baby.
bingo.
That's a lot of bullets, man. I would love that on my playthrough.
This is a great teaser. Right before the game's first show.
Yeah, right there. Joel looks so weird right there. Who is that? If there's that many of them, yeah, right there. That's really weird. A little rough.
This is our
Oh.
routine. Day and night. All we do
Man,
is survive.
he's getting hype.
It never lets up.
Into the unknown?
Oh, that's a good transition. My God, this is
Tells me how
good.
these streets were crowded with people just going about their lives. Must have been nice.
Last of
That's
Us.
a great teaser.
See you in 2 years. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then seeing the initial gameplay was from the hotel level. Your first E3 demo was in like when Joel first enters the hotel room. I think two guys talking like, "Hey, I'm gonna keep on pacing," and then you have to go choke them out.
That's the same level where you have to fight like for one of the first times, I think, like the big guy like inside like
the bloater in the
the bloater
elevator generator.
That's the one, right?
Yep. Chapter, what is that? Chapter 6 or so, 5 or 6.
Of course
Yeah,
I know.
it's pretty. Yeah, it's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is my favorite level of the game because you meet like Sam and Henry. The hotel level design in general is awesome. Like there's so many different. Every time I
Hotel's
play the
really
game,
cool.
I go different routes on purpose so I can like see like, okay, this is what I can do over here, even though I kind of like go to the same quickest route if I can. But yeah, the level design in this game is incredible. And that teaser trailer, yeah, really showing us like this is a survival thriller, but it's still gonna have like those action adventure moments that you come to love from Uncharted. It's great. And like I remember one of the big selling points was like the morality aspect. Like in the demo, like you push the guy down, he had a shotgun to his face. He's like, "Hold up, man! I don't want to. You don't have to do this." And it's like, "Oh shoot!" Like the AI is speaking to me. Like this is crazy. Like, like in Uncharted 2, you're just like mowing down Lazarevich's men like one by one, and there's no question of like what Nathan Drake is doing.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing about these games that like there is still that, especially in part 2, but there's the morality aspect too.
Yeah, like people like actually
dealing with the consequences of killing all these people.
Exactly. Like people actually question what you're doing. Like Uncharted, they don't really question it, but
Uncharted 4 is just like the chill town in that game is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It's crazy. Hey, we gotta do everything we can for treasure, right?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad this went to HBO because in the hands of another studio, they would try to like maybe water down some of the morality questions for the characters, and HBO is just the perfect house for this to live on, like adaptation wise.
It really is. And bringing it back to one of the creators of the show as well, Craig Mazin. Is there an L in his name?
Craig Mazin.
Mazin, no L. Okay. Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl. Have you all seen Chernobyl?
I have not.
On HBO.
I need to.
I loved it, and it deals with like Chernobyl. kind of like the outbreak of this crazy nuclear disaster. And it's very well paced. It's very serious, and it takes the human toll into account. And I think he can bring that kind of sensibility to the show as well, where like the human decisions are very important. These human moments are like really what's going to be driving the emotional core of the show. And yeah, bringing it back to Last of Us, I'm very excited. We have 9 episodes to deal with the craziness of the first Last of Us game. Initially, I was very nervous. Like, can they handle 9 episodes? That can be enough for Last of Us Part 1 and Left Behind. But given from the reactions and the trailers and what we've seen, what we've heard from the show, I think they're going to have plenty to deal with here.
For sure.
So we are they are covering the whole full first video game season, right?
Yeah,
I think so. And it works out. Episode 1 is probably going to be the prologue, which we talked about, and then everything after that is going to be some.
I don't know. It's like I wonder how they can stretch that if it's just the entire prologue. How they stretch it out to 80 minutes.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
or it's like the prologue plus like the first thing of Tess, establishing the groundwork for that.
Oh,
their relationship. Maybe we meet Ellie at the end of the first episode.
Ooh, that's possible too.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about the.
Actually, no, that's a lot. That's a lot, but it is 85 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I hope they do the prologue as a cold open. I still want them to do that.
That's a long cold open.
I mean, it's like
happen 30-minute game. 30, 40 minute.
It's 80-minute episode. That would make sense.
80-minute episode. You could do half the episode with
prologue. I mean, do the title sequence. Then
so far, I've been thinking the whole first episode is going to be the prologue, but because I think him meeting Ellie, it's long.
You have to have Ellie in the first episode, though.
There's a lot of stuff with Joel and meeting Tess. I mean, I guess that's not a lot.
It's just
Joel meeting Tess. Then are they even going to have the character of shit? I forget.
The guy who looks like Bronn of Blackwater.
yeah, like Joel and Tess are on that first mission where they're like they this guy owes them money.
Yeah.
And then they find him, they kill him. Then they meet Marlene. Marlene's bleeding out. Marlene brings them to Ellie, and that's it. That's a lot. I mean, they might cut out that part. That part's not really necessary to the show or to the game at all. It's just like establishing who Joel and Tess are. If they're gritty and they'll do anything, they get betrayed. So you're right. They could do all that in the first episode. I'll be confident to see wherever they land. But I think the emotional gun punch is going to be like, oh man, Nico Parker as Sarah is going to be.
Yeah, that.
Whoo! It's going to be deep.
I can't wait to see people who haven't played the games, their reactions to that. It's going to be so good.
Me too. Yeah, that's going to be the most part.
I'm so excited to watch this with Bridget because she doesn't know anything. So I'm just going to be like looking at her reaction the whole time.
Friend of the show, Alden Diaz, hasn't played the games either and doesn't really know much. So I'm interested to see how he thinks.
Ooh, the spoiler chat's going to be great.
Yeah. So yeah, coming from after the prologue, that first mission, the test for the first game, and like establishing the groundwork of this world that's gonna the world that we're in now, 20 years later. I think they do a really good job establishing like the world building of this pandemic and like the post-apocalyptic setting. And I really like Joel and Tess's dynamic too.
Yes, a lot of great stuff here is established in this first chapter. We meet Joel, gruff, hasn't shaved. We meet Tess, he's great, but they're both like rough. They have this interesting dynamic. Is it romantic? Seemingly romantic. They do some light flirtation, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, I think they've had sex in the past, but I think there's some like.
I wonder if they expand on it in the show.
I hope so. I mean, that's what the show is for, right? Expanding these kind of deeper relationships that we don't get too much of in the game. We get enough of Tess to know that I think they do love each other in terms of like a survival aspect. But I think
I do love how subtle it is.
It is subtle.
Hence, to like their past relationship.
It's not like they're super lovey-dovey or holding hands, but no, like they rely on each other to survive, and they like each other's company. Like they make some short, like if you get those optional dialogue options in the game, on their way to rescuing Ellie, you get some interesting things there. 20 years later, look at that! Like he's surrounded by all this darkness. Like this is a sad character. Oh, this is part 1. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using part 1 clips.
Good.
Still haven't played it. I was going to do it last night.
Wow!
But I might just edit it instead. But I might start it tonight or tomorrow.
It's good. Put it on grounded mode. Do the hardest mode.
Yeah.
No,
I was telling Josh to like play the game as each episode is going on. Catch up with
that's probably what I'm going to do.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, go ahead and play the prologue. It's like 10 minutes. If you're going to do that. But yeah, it's so genius to have a Joel come out of the darkness there. I just realized that. And he's into the light of this new world. And like I was saying earlier, you meet the new like security forces in this new not Pittsburgh, Boston, in the Boston QZ zone. And they're like escorting people out of their houses. People are lined up on the streets. You see people go up. You see security go up to people with a disease detection device. Somebody tries to run away, they get shot. Like all of this in the first 5 minutes of the game, you're like, oh, and this is just as Joel and Tess are just walking. Like you can experience the world around you. So I'm very excited to see how the show plays with that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great world. Like what type of like how fucked up the planet has gone after this thing break down.
Exactly. Well, also like one of the things I just love about the game in general that there's no like cut bad guy. There's no overarching villain in the show at all.
Even the second game too.
Yeah, even in the second game, there's no huge villain. Like the monsters are always just going to be up to the player. Like who do you think are the bad people? Are they like in part 2? Are they Abby's group, or is it Ellie? Like you don't really know.
The way they play around with protagonists and antagonists, that dynamic, and if like how the characters can transform into being one or the other throughout, especially part 2 with Ellie and Abby, is really fascinating. Exactly. And even here with Joel too, like we play as him, so he's technically our protagonist, but once we get to the ending and the choices he makes, is he though?
Yeah, he does some pretty quote unquote, and even in this discussion, it's hard to say he does some quote unquote bad things, but are they bad? Like we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's up to players to decide. That's for us to have a discussion about. That's why the game is so cool. It's like
also like we haven't said this yet, but we're doing full spoilers.
Full spoilers. Yeah. I already mentioned like what happened in part 2. But yeah,
it's for people who are like gonna watch the show but haven't played the games yet. Don't watch this.
100%. Full spoilers ahead. But yeah, like this game, and going along with what Josh is saying, it deals with empathy and it deals with morality, and who you choose to have empathy for is up to you. Of course, that's more so in part 2, but even in the end of part 1, who do you have empathy for? The world, in the essence of like killing the few to save humanity. Exactly. Do you have empathy for them, or do you have empathy for this girl that you've played along with the entire game? Of course, the game is telling you like, hey, it's cool that I'm saving this girl, Ellie. Any player in the right mind would have no problems with what Joel is doing. But what I like about part 2 is that it questions the player.
It questions that decision. Exactly.
And if you don't want to be challenged, that's fine. But it's like it brings it up.
We see that decision was probably the feel-good moment in the first game, but the way Ellie challenges it, and it kind of fractures their dynamic in their relationship throughout the whole second game.
Because you don't know who's right or wrong. Yeah.
And it plays even more so to the beginning of part 2 with the whole like actions have consequences, as we all know, with what happens to Joel. So again, I'm so excited because like HBO is obviously super into like morality with like something like Game of Thrones or like even like Euphoria or stuff like that.
The series is in the best hands it is. Like honestly, with HBO, Craig Mazin, like we're so lucky that this happened, and it's not a movie or not like a cable show or something. Like we're so lucky.
Yeah, this was in like development hell for the longest. This was going to be a
Sam Raimi was going to do a movie, which I think that would have rolled, but it would have captured the essence of The Last of Us.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing a 2-hour, 2.5-hour
movie.
Like, how do you even set that up? Like, that's impossible.
Even like 9-10 hours is like just enough.
Exactly. So they're doing the right thing here. They're doing the right decision. But yeah, in general, going all the way back, I love Joel and Tess's relationship, and just hearing some of the interviews with I think her first name is Anna, the actress who plays
Anna Torov.
Anna Torov. She was
Anna
incredible in David Fincher's Mindhunter. Love her in Mindhunter. And I think she's going to be a great Tess. And she talked about like the romance between Joel and Tess and how that's going to be explored in the show. I think there is something there. And we get just enough to fall in love with Tess before she's ripped away from us and our hearts are broken again.
No, right?
This world is just too cruel.
So yeah, before we get to that moment, we have to
meet Ellie.
Come in like with Marlene coming and it's Marlene, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and meeting Joel saying, "Hey, I need your help smuggling this girl. We don't know what exactly she's about, but that she's important."
Yeah, she's important and she's very fun. Like she's instantly asking Joel so many different questions. And
that first scene of both of them in Joel's apartment is great. When like she's trying to fall asleep, or she doesn't want to fall asleep. Wait, is that?
Oh yeah,
I'm in that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's when they're like they trek and they go. It's raining outside, and Joel like takes his first nap in the game, and it's like he's caring for Ellie a little bit, but he's just like she's just I see in the trailer she's cargo. Just do as I say when I say it. Follow me. It's great. Like it has to be mentioned, but this is a classic dynamic. Like this is a mythological classic wolf and the pup dynamic that we've seen in countless stories before. It's just that The Last of Us is just doing it in such an interesting and powerful way that makes this game so relivable, rewatchable, replayable. And yeah, I love that dynamic because he starts off gruff. Again, like I said, he's in this like dark stage in his life, really late in his years, and Ellie's kind of like slowly chipping away at his armor as the game progresses.
Do we think we're gonna see like very early on, like you know how in the trailer it seems like we're looking at Ellie's birth? Do we think we're introduced to her character like that, or
I don't think. I think that's like a mid-season thing. Once that they start to like grow closer to each other, maybe Ellie tells more about her backstory, like through Joel. That's maybe how.
Or maybe or maybe through like the Left Behind like storyline.
Yeah, whenever we get to the Ellie alone as segments of the game with David in the winter time in Utah, I think that's going to be where we get...
She says maybe reminiscing about, or not reminiscing, but like thinking back. Well, did she?
Yeah.
When did Anna leave? Did she died right after birth? Because I haven't read the comments, so.
Me neither. That's a great question. When did she die? She spoke highly of Ellie, so Marlene knew about her. She knew about.
Did Ellie know her really? Because I don't think she did. Right? She is knew of her.
Dang, that's a great question.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I played this game a million times, and I don't know the relationship between Ellie and her mom.
But like, also, side note, casting Ashley Johnson as her mother is like
awesome.
The most brilliant thing they could have done.
Yeah, I think she died recently. That's my gut instinct to say that she died recently. And then Marlene's kind of like been her caretaker for maybe a couple years. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what we get with Ashley and her mom. That's brand new territory. I'm excited to see where the game goes with that. Other brand new territory that we didn't really talk about was that the trailers kind of alluded to like more learning a little bit more about like the origins of the disease. Like we know there's no spores. They're going to be talking about tendrils more so in this game, and like
different that's be interesting how they do that, having no spores.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how that will play out.
I've heard how that plays out. I'm not gonna mention it, but it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. I'm excited. And Neil and Craig, I trust.
I trust Neil completely.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, they're going against the Bible of the game. You don't touch the game. It's like
It's an
guys,
adaptation.
it's an adaptation.
You want them to like change things.
If you want
And
to play
it's
the
the
game,
guy
definitely.
that made it to begin with.
Exactly.
exactly.
And like they released a clip of Joel, Tommy, and Sarah in the car, and they're doing stuff like shot for shot, line for line too.
That's awesome. I can't wait to watch
It's
that.
so good.
I stayed away from that clip. I'm just like, oh, that sound. I mean, I can't wait to hear what Diego Luna sounds like as Tommy because
He's like exactly like
That's
Jeffrey
awesome.
Pierce. It's crazy.
I'm a huge Diego Luna fan. He's underrated in Terminator.
You mean
Gabriel?
Gabriel. I keep saying Diego. Gabriel.
Yeah.
Gabriel Luna is fantastic.
The Andor brand.
I'm really great show, guys. Watch Andor. Gabriel Luna. He was great in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's great in Terminator Dark Fate. He needs to get more parts. We'll see a lot of him in future seasons.
Yep,
definitely.
That's for sure. But yeah, this whole first sequence of the game is really great. It's setting the groundwork for like not the oppressors, but like the security forces of the game.
Yeah,
you quickly realize like
the government.
The government, the enforcement. Joel and Tess are kind of like on the outside. They're not really a fan of these kinds of people.
Yeah.
And they're not a fan of the Fireflies either. The Fireflies are introduced in this section.
The way the Fireflies are like just briefly mentioned through Marlene and through just like the world and the stuff like on in the atmosphere of the game is so cool.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you see it immediately on the sides of buildings, right? Like the Fireflies follow the light, like always believe. Like they're more of a faithful. Their core thing is faith, not survival. Like mostly faith. And
the contrast of that in part 2 with the WLF is fascinating.
The WLF and who are they called? The Seraphites. Yes,
the Seraphites. Yeah,
in part 2, in terms of like
these religious... like different cults or like groups of people of in faith. The way they build these out throughout the games is really cool.
Really interesting, and we learn a lot of information from scavenging and reading letters.
Especially the first game. Like
especially the first game.
I forgot his name, but when you're in the Pittsburgh level and going through the sewers, I forgot his name, but that Isa,
yeah.
I wonder if we see that in the show.
I think Neil mentioned it because somebody, I think a fan questioned him, like, "Are we going to get like notes and letters and Isa?" And I think Neil.
I did see Isa being a character, maybe.
Me too. Like I could see like a short, like a 15-minute prologue to that episode where they talk about Isa and what eventually happens to him. Because
that was such a fascinating
I think he makes that alive. I think Isa makes that alive because like
the children die. Obviously,
the children, everybody dies, and there's a note like outside before you get.
You know about this, right, Edgar? Have you the hidden story throughout the letters and stuff and the sewers?
I don't really recall it. I mean, maybe I do know it, but I'm just on top of my mind. Not really. I didn't really like spend my time reading every single letter.
I've read everything.
The lore of this game is so fascinating that like I just want to read everything and listen to every recording.
Me too. Like in not part 1, in the first section of the game, I'm trying to think here. Like when you're just exploring houses and you read a note and it's like, oh, Papa says like we have to move out eventually, but he hasn't come back home yet. And then you close a note and Ellie and Jorah is like, I hope they made it out. It's like a small thing where it's like you don't know what happened, but you get short snippets of people's lives.
And the way that we get story through gameplay in this game is like really impressive too.
It's so immersive. It's so cool. Man, I want to play these games already right now.
I'm looking at right now at the game of the PS5, the new remaster.
Part 1,
the part 1.
It's like 80. It's like $80. I'm like, should I drop the money?
I got the special.
I dropped it. Yeah.
The Firefly edition for 800.
Me and Josh got the Firefly edition, and it's
that steelbook is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's pristine. I'm keeping that thing nice and safe and cozy. It's great. But yeah, what was I going to say?
So from there, we get to them meeting Ellie.
Yeah, them meeting Ellie. Ellie's trying to ask him questions. Yeah,
we get to the level which is like I was stuck on embarrassingly for like a long time of them going through
The museum, the downtown.
Downtown, like with it's night and like trying to avoid the lights.
Yeah.
I was like, I kept being stuck on that when I first played.
Oh wow!
And after that, the revelation that Ellie cannot be infected.
She's immune. Yeah, they go through the
immune,
downtown area. The security is like tracking them down because they're in the part of the QZ. They're outside the QZ zone and they're not where they're supposed to be. And then they get out of the truck and like two officers like say, "Get down on your knees." They get the scanner part. When it gets to Ellie, it starts blinking red. Like, oh no, we got a live one. And then Joel uses that commotion to shoot and kill the two enforcers. But then they're like, wait, hold up. Ellie, how are you? Like, what's going on? Ellie's like, see, I'm not infected. And they're like, that's impossible. What's going on here? And that's when like it gets real. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that moment has to be in the game. That's a fun moment.
Yeah, that moment is so good. And Ashley Johnson, that whole sequence, this whole series is just incredible, Zelda.
Yeah.
Moment before they go into like the collapse towers.
Yeah, that's where we are right now.
Okay.
And we see that classic shot in the trailer because they had to do it. They had to do it because the classic collapse, like it's
with
so imposing.
The storm, yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so imposing, so interesting.
This is Boston, right?
Yeah, this is no. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Boston. Yeah.
This is downtown Boston. Yeah, and it's really cool. I love the downtown level so much. It's so dark.
This is the point of the show that we've seen the most leaks from too, like because it was poet filming. So this is like the first time we saw them in costume.
Oh yeah,
interesting.
Right. Yeah,
we saw the museum. Yeah, speaking of like the museum before that, I just want to bring up one of my favorite
sweet
shots and moments. This is beautiful.
Yeah, the museum level was so cool. And we've seen little like clips and images from this as well.
Just the bridge scene is so good.
Yeah. And by the way, this takes place after Tess has been bitten. At this point, Tess has been bitten.
Yeah. She was bitten during the tower, right?
During the museum sequence. When Joel and Tess get separated, and then it's just Tess and Ellie, then Joel has to come rescue them. There's a little scuffle, and Joel asks Tess, like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." I'm like, "Oh no, she's not fine."
I also just want to point out the design of these characters and like just the iconography of Ellie's shirt has just like lasted 10 years. It's like so iconic already.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's like, oh man, the classic red shirt, gray undershirt. Joel's green plaid shirts. That's great.
With a light flash.
Oh, what a shot. Oh, what a beauty.
Beautiful game.
And then look at Joel looking at Ellie.
Yeah, he's starting to like that relationship starting to get tighter.
Yeah, he's starting to see like, oh, these are the small moments I used to have with Sarah, just for enjoying. I mean, that's the beauty of having characters like these in these kind of tropes. The younger characters first introduced to a darker world, darker or just brand new in general. For Ellie, like she's never seen like Ray. Like I've never seen this much green in the galaxy before. Yeah, right. Like
I love that. I know it's an archetype, but like that's one of my favorite archetypes. So like this
for sure.
Like Ray's one of my favorite characters. Ellie's one of my favorite characters. And the similarities between them is really interesting too.
Oh yeah.
When we get to the giraffe moment in the show,
oh my god, still my favorite moment in like any story. It's this beautiful music comes in, and it's like,
yeah,
we're watching that clip once we get to it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, in terms of tropes, it's like enemies to lovers, then a wolf in the pup. Like,
yeah,
for sure. Right there. Like, it's really good. And
then we get to Tess's farewell, I guess.
Oh man, do you have that clip or?
I have part of it. I don't have the sound for most of these, but
that's fine.
I could start turning it on.
No, that's good. We can talk over it anyways. But yeah, Tess's goodbye scene is so heartbreaking. Like again, when I've replayed the game, I'm like, oh, so this is when Tess gets bitten because it's when you're separated. It's kind of hard to tell. But then she tells you, and she kind of like puts the game into full gear by telling Joel like, this is your mission. And Joel's like, this is over, Tess. Like this, we get that line where it's like, this is over. Like we're not completing this mission. He doesn't want to do it without her. He doesn't feel like he himself is up to the task. But Tess, in her dying words, basically just like, you have to complete your mission. You have to get her to the Fireflies. This is what we signed up to do. It's bigger than us. Like Tess is starting to really buy into the faith of it all. Like, this is bigger than us. If this girl can save us all, then Joel, you better goddamn do it.
You know how there's been speculation that there's like a shot in the trailers where you can see them like running away from like a turned Tess.
Oh yeah, I don't think that.
Yeah. It looks like Anna Torv though.
It does.
Yeah.
But the reason why I bring it up is because like if they do something like that, like expanding that entire moment between them,
that'd be
like,
interesting.
Like it would be so cool from.
But the
thing
about The Last of Us is that like the Quakers take a while to like come back to life, right?
Yeah,
and at least like longer than typical zombies.
Yeah. But the reason why I was saying like it would be cool from a story and character perspective is because if you give Joel a moment to see somebody who he loves turn, and then when you get to the end of this like part 1 story, like of him making that decision, like he's basically like doing people that he himself cares about.
That's a good point. That's powerful.
That'd be an interesting way to change it.
Yeah, I hope they don't, because I mean I'll be fine with whatever they do. But I do like Tess going out on her own terms.
Right, I have the clip right here.
Okay, great. This is one of my favorite parts of the game.
By the way, this facial animation in part 1 is incredible.
Incredible. It was like it's so different. Oh man,
that cut.
What the fuck?
You gotta go back for her, right?
Stop.
We just left her to die.
Yeah, we did.
Then I don't have the clip, but like once you're walking up those steps and throughout the continuing to play, you hear the background noise of like
you can kill them too. By the way, you can fight them.
Really?
Yeah, like because I've waited, and they do come up the steps.
Really?
They are right behind you, so you could get into conflict with them. You probably won't survive. The game is just like 9 of them, so unless you want to waste all your ammo on them and the people you're eventually gonna have to kill, so it's like it's not worth it. But it is interesting. You can fire on them. But yeah, that is such a powerful scene. Because for Joel, it's like shaking him out of his like comfort zone, and like he's now by himself. I think he was comfortable. Him and Tess, him and Tess together can do this journey, but him by himself, he's kind of like out of his depth, or at least he's out of a depth that he hasn't been in 20 years. Because he did have a daughter. Like he does know the responsibilities. He does know what he's capable of. But it's been 20 years. He doesn't want to go back to that pain of being responsible for somebody else, especially somebody else so young as his daughter. Because he feels like he failed his daughter. He doesn't want to fail Ellie, at least later on. And so he's constantly, it's called, what is it called? It's the denial of the call. Like, right? Like, it's that walking away from the call. Like, you see Luke Skywalker do it in The Last Jedi, like other characters in other stories, like where they deny the call. And I think Joel is denying the call all the way up to the dam level with Tommy, in which he finally, one of my other favorite scenes is when he's on the horse. He's like, Ellie, get off Tommy's horse. Come on my horse. Come with me. We're going to go to Utah. We're going to go to the university together. And it's one of my favorite scenes because it's when Joel finally switches and he finally accepts his mission, his call. But it's halfway through the game, so it takes a long time for Joel. And I like the pacing of the game. It gives Joel that time, that experience with Ellie to come up and have the courage to make that call. Because he's still.
I want to bring up one of my favorite scenes: the on the way to Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
Let me see that.
Oh, we're gonna skip over Billstown.
I forgot. Yeah, but the whole Bill, like that scene of the game is interesting though, because the way it's like slowly like established, like you see the traps and you see Joel's realization, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea.
Yeah.
Then the trap that Joel's caught in, and the gameplay sequence of you having to like play upside down is really cool.
So cool. I used to be so scared, like when I'm upside down. The game gives you so much ammo beforehand, And then when you get to the upside down sequence, I'm like, I don't want to waste all this ammo. Is the game forcing me to shoot all these things? So eventually I realized, like, no matter what happened, you leave that area with a certain amount of bullets, no matter how many bullets you use. But anyways, Billstown is so fascinating because, as we realized from the show, we are going to be introduced to Frank. Frank's going to be in the show.
I'm so glad about that.
We're going to be learning about him. And once again, like Josh and I have said, Frank is a character we've learned a lot about. Granted, we get a lot of cutscenes between Joel and Bill when Joel's like...
Bill's referring to him as like his past partner.
His partner.
And seeing that moment of him handing in the room.
Exactly. It's like, God damn it, Frank. It's like... And Bill takes his time. Joel says, I'm sorry, Bill. And Bill's like, you don't got to apologize to me, that fucker. Like, Bill's very much trying to disassociate himself from the trauma, but he knows he's hurting himself.
But now we're getting a full episode on their backstory.
A full episode. And again, like Jocelyn and I said, we get a lot of Frank from the notes as well. Like, a lot of notes between Frank and Bill are explored in Billstown. So we learn a lot about them. And I'm excited to see Frank as a character and their backstory in... I assume it's going to be episode 3 or 4 of the show.
It's do you want me to say it? It's already confirmed.
Oh, cool. Episode 3, I assume.
Yeah, it's 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chapter 3, episode 3. That works. That's exciting. Man, yeah. That Billstown whole area is so cool because we go into the whole school level. We meet our bloater for the first time in the school.
Yes.
Like in the whole gym. Like how that's an iconic part of the game. Like. How are we going to do that in the show? Like, are we going to be fighting a bloater in a gymnasium in the show? Like, are they going to skip past that? Like, what are they going to do?
I mean, we've seen the bloater in the trailer. So.
The bloater in the trailer, but it's full of fire and darkness.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't
I wonder, that, if it's full of fire, is that probably the prologue then?
I would assume seeing a bloater
or would it be like
would be
the David sequences? But I don't know.
Actually, no, you're right. Bloater can't be in the prologue because it takes a while for a bloater to become a bloater.
Is it the David sequence maybe? Or is it
could be a David sequence because the only time we see a bloater are...
The only time we see fire is like David, really.
Yeah. Bloater is like, with David. And then we also see it in the university level. We also see it, like we said, in the gymnasium in Boston. We also see it, like Edgar mentioned, under the elevator sequence in Pittsburgh. It's like 4 times. Each time, not great. I don't like killing.
Yeah, those are like, it's hard. It's one of the hardest parts of the game.
Usually I avoid it. Outside of the gymnasium, I'm good at avoiding the bloater. No, actually, yeah. The only time I kill the bloater is the gymnasium part and the Ellie versus David, because you have to kill it when you're by yourself with Ellie. There's no escaping it. But those are only 2 times. The downtown super scary elevator sequence, I usually just run right past it. And I'm just like, oh shoot, let me get past it.
I'm going through the cast and I'm like trying to see who's playing David, and I can't find it.
It's an unknown. At least I don't know him.
Yeah,
but he's in the trailer.
But the person that plays Joel, Troy Baker, iconic voice actor,
he's gonna be one of David's like henchmen, right?
Right hand man,
James.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's gonna be exciting to see that dynamic play out on screen. Because he could be like the guy that David is with when he first meets Ellie. That could be a thing. Like, hey, put down the rifle, girl. Kind of thing.
I'm excited to see Murray Bartlett again on my TV.
Yes.
After the White Lotus.
He's gonna be Frank too.
Yeah, he's gonna be great, Frank. Exactly. Hopefully, he doesn't die of shitting himself or whatever he did in White Lotus.
Okay, here's the car scene.
Yeah, push that cart down the hill.
Incredible.
And it was cool having Ellie get that responsibility too. This score, guys, is so good.
Best score in games. Maybe in all
wow.
Am I wrong though?
Yeah, it's top 10.
I mean, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 7. Okay.
I know it
I was gonna bring up Final Fantasy 7.
Not a bad read. Only one problem.
Savage Starlight.
To be continued. I mean, all
do we know who's scoring the show?
It's the same guy.
It's the same composer.
Is the same guy? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing with this.
It's Justin Hurwitz, actually. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Who's it? Fucking Babylon?
Babylon on Last of Us.
I love the later dude as she throws out the magazine.
Yeah, later dude. Oh yeah, when she's going through the magazine, she's like, some of these
It's kind
pages
of
are
sticky.
sticking together. It's like, oh, Ellie. She's like, I'm just kidding.
Have you seen the
That's
Last of Us
great.
Live that they did? If you like when Remastered came out, where they
No,
like or performed some of the moments like on live on stage.
no, I haven't. That sounds cool
You haven't seen that?
though.
It's so good. You should go back
Wow,
and watch that.
I'm
Like
gonna check that out on YouTube
they did the
tonight.
car scene. They did like obviously a lot of the like the draft or not the draft scene, but the ending scene.
Wow.
And they actually performed the alternate take for the ending where it's a musical.
Oh, geez.
So remember in the documentary they like kind of did that as a joke.
Yeah, like what if? Yeah, it's interesting. I gotta check that out. I never heard about that.
It's cool.
I do love live readings. But yeah, but then we get to Pittsburgh. And it's so great. Like when they're on the bridge and the guy is like, help me. And Joel's like, he don't need any help. He's not wounded. Just drive straight past him. The guy's like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck. And it's one of my favorite levels because it's just like, they literally pull you out of the car and you have to like fight your way through Pittsburgh. And you get
Pure
to the
chaos.
bookstore level. It's pure chaos right off from the jump. And we meet a lot more of these hunters. And these hunters that we meet in this area are going to call back all the way to David because you leave them, they follow you to the university.
Is it the same people?
Maybe, right? Oh no, yeah, I'm wrong. Yeah, the people that we killed in the university are the same people that David people are after.
Yeah,
not in Pittsburgh. I guess a long distance. But yeah, the hunters in this level are just so cool. Like they're all on that.
I wonder
big
if this
tank.
is where Melanie Linsky comes in.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
I
think
could see that she
charge
being like
here.
one of these factions. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the hunters are like have basically taken over downtown Pittsburgh, in this hotel area, because they're controlling a tank. I don't know if they're going to use a tank in the show. Maybe, hopefully,
that
that'd be
tape
cool.
sequence is like that's difficult.
It's wild, especially on grounded because it kills you in like 2 shots. It's like boom, boom, dead. I'm just like, oh man, like you have to cover so hard, and I hate like healing myself.
That's where you meet Henry and what's the other ones? Sam, yeah.
Sam. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be heartbreaking.
That I should totally that be a cliffhanger for that episode.
You don't cliffhanger the death.
Yeah, you do.
No, what are you, Walking Dead?
I mean, that's what they do in the game. They like do the death, then they cut to the next season.
True. Oh! You're saying the cliffhanger after the death?
Yeah.
Yes. I agree. Then I thought you meant like, or do you mean cliffhanger before the death?
No, I meant do the death then end the episode.
Oh yeah, I agree. Then yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Then I thought you meant like Sam, no credits. I'm like, no, it's
no,
not.
not that. It's not Walking Dead. No.
Walking Dead is like eeny, meeny, miny. Oh
God, wait a year. God, that was atrocious.
That was awful. That was bad, Bob. Not great.
But like it worked for them.
I came back, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that was the last time I came back.
Me too.
Believe that.
How many seasons did you guys survive for that show? The 8 or
the one episode right after that? Like that season was the last.
That season was the last for me too.
Yeah. It was like I watched the first 2 episodes. The Negan episodes, they're good. But I was like, I'm done.
I think when they captured Negan, I think I left.
Where do you think that show peaked?
Season 4.
Season 4.
With season after the prison sequence.
What is it called? Commissioner, whatever.
After the prison.
The commissioner is the best villain, I think. That was so good.
Yeah.
You mean the governor?
The governor.
Yeah.
He is great.
But like that episode, that finale, I think, where Maddie's dad dies, that episode where the governor kills Maddie's.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Herschel.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, that was peak. Walking Dead.
The first 4 seasons of Walking Dead are so good.
Pretty tight.
Still, like,
pretty tight.
It's crazy how far off that show.
How far are they fallen? Luckily,
we're not gonna go there.
Exactly.
It's fairly it ended though. Wait, I guess it's done now.
Yeah, they have 2 spinoffs next year.
Really?
Negan and Maggie, and then you got Michonne and Rick.
Negan and Maddie? That's a thing now?
That's a thing. I mean, they're not romantic. It's just like I think it's just a dynamic now.
Huh. Are they wait? Okay.
It's weird. Anyways, back to Last of Us.
Back to the Superior
stuff. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they play with Pittsburgh because they can spend like at least 2 episodes here if they want to. Because there's the whole Melanie Linsky. I butchered her name again.
Melanie Linsky, I think.
Just Linsky, yeah. She's great in Yellow Jackets. I really recommend people watch Yellow Jackets. And we have the whole bloater under the elevator sequence, which is awesome. I love that part. It's scary as hell every single time I play it. And then, the hotel. This is a big part for Joel. Joel is finally running away from giving Ellie a lot of responsibility. Ellie kept asking him prior to this, like, hey, can I get more involved? He's kind of been like, no, you don't use a gun here. But when Joel is getting drowned inside the hotel, Ellie is the one to save the day. We get the iconic shot of like Ellie, like, boom, I just killed a guy. It's like, wow, I just saved your life, basically. I think that's what she says. And Joel isn't saying like, hey, thank you, Ellie, so much. He's like, you shouldn't have come back here. And Ellie's like, whoa, like, it's such an interesting level because Ellie's taken aback by this, and Joel is kind of like, not disassociating, but just like he's upset with Ellie. And I think it's 2 things here. I think Joel's upset with Ellie because she put her life in danger. She could have easily gotten killed if the guy fought her off or whatever. It was just too dangerous. Because he's starting to care a little bit more, but he's coming off in a different way. Ellie is taking it as like, hey, this guy doesn't care for me. He didn't even thank me. And I really like the character. How do they play it? Like the gameplay, whatever. Like after this moment, Ellie's just she's walking slowly. When Joel has to push a piano, Ellie's like,
I
guess I'll help you.
So good.
It's so cool. It's so good. But then, like, throughout all this, Joel's like, okay, I fucked up, basically. And then when they get to the sniper post, Joel's finally like, okay, fine.
Yeah, hand her the gun.
Here's the rifle. This rifle is, like, basically my life. I need you to stay up here. You're going to be my eyes and ears, basically. Like, my life is in your hands. This is a lot of responsibility he's putting towards Ellie. And it's a big changing point for both of them. And then you go through that whole level, you kill everybody, and Ellie's like, she gives him the rifle back, but he then gives her the gun that eventually she keeps for the rest of part 1 and part 2, the little 9mm pistol. And it's basically like it's a symbol of him giving her like a part of him to her, and it's great. And granted, in part 2, like she gets a revolver, which basically means a lot more. That's Joel's revolver.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big moment. I love this moment in part 1 where it's like, oh wow, like they're really starting to come together.
Then we did the taint sequence, and we did meet Henry and Sam. Then where do we go from there?
Yeah, we meet Henry and Sam, and they're going to be meeting because they got separated from their Fireflies. They're going to be meeting their Fireflies at this satellite tower just outside of the city. Right. And Joel and Ellie are like, well, we're going that direction, and we'd love to meet up with your Fireflies because, hey, I got delivered to go to the Fireflies too. And
I think what she's trying, Joel's thinking is like this is where he can get rid of Ellie, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's so interesting because, like I just said, like he just gave her a 9mm gun. Ellie's thinking like, wow, this guy actually cares for me now. But Joel, he's giving her more of the stuff.
He's still holding on to like that past life, the survivor, the loner.
He's still denying the call because he's giving her more responsibility. And I think the more he gives, the more he cares, the more he doesn't want that to be taken away from him again. He doesn't want to go through that pain again. So even though he is starting to care more, that's true. He is starting to be like, but I got to push her away because if she dies now, I care. And I can't go through that again. It's also textual, but it's also good. Actually, one of my favorite moments when they're leaving the city and Henry and Sam like climbing up the ladder, the tank's right behind them, and the ladder falls down, and Henry and Sam are like, "Sorry, I gotta go."
Right?
Like, oh shit! But then Ellie jumps back down and she says, "You and me together." And I'm like, "Oh, let's go." It's great. I love that moment so much. And I'm just like, because Ellie really starting to care for Joel. That's important. Like, we know how Joel is with Ellie, but Ellie is really starting to see Joel as this like parental figure. She's really attaching herself a lot to Joel in this sequence. So much so that she jumps off the bridge. She can't even swim. It's crazy. I love this whole level. And then he jumps off the bridge too to save her. And then that's when we get into the sewers, which I really like as well.
The whole like backstory through the notes is really cool, and going to this neighborhood, which is really where the game is really fascinating, kind of just like you see with the letters in the backstory, you start to see like, and just the environmental the storytelling that's going on here. And, like, we get to see residential life and how the pandemic, I guess, infected that.
Yeah, big time. It's so interesting because like we see an ice cream truck for the first time. Like, hey, this is an ice cream truck, and Ellie's like, "What the hell?" Like, people just went around.
We also
get ice cream.
Ellie and Sam. Like, is it right? Sam's the younger one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Ellie and Sam start to like. We just see these two kids that didn't have a life before.
Yes.
And going back to a residential area where there's like children's bedrooms and seeing like this should have been our life. Yeah,
Sam or Henry goes on to say like we've had neighborhood grill outs where everybody used to come around and barbecue, and Ellie and Sam are like, whoa, like people used to do all that kind of stuff. Like they can't fathom that kind of camaraderie because in this day and age, everybody's so separated. Everybody's just trying to survive. They're all so egotistical or selfish in this day and age. Like you can't even fathom people working together. Like it sounds so foreign to them. But yeah, they just come across like a darts, and Ellie and Sam are playing darts. Like it's a new world to them, and it gives Henry and Joel a time to reminisce as well. Yeah. It's a really cool little area.
It makes very mundane things for us like seem wonderful in this world for them.
Exactly. It's awesome. But just like The Last of Us loves to do,
we didn't attack.
We get attacked.
Happiness again.
The tank is back. The tank it's followed us over the bridge.
Like a monster.
I'm like, why? I'm like, you're really like you thought you could escape from me? I'm like, well, yeah, because why would you come over here? Anyways, the tank has followed us. We run from the tank. Blah 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 blah. We get the huge horde of clickers and runners.
I love that gameplay sequence of being Joel like in the
sniper's nest.
Sniper, yeah, that's really cool.
Really awesome. And also like during this level, you can see where Henry gets bitten. He gets tackled as a player.
Or Sam, is it Henry or Sam?
Sorry, Sam. It's Sam. Yeah. As a player, you have to go over there and shoot the one that's on top of Henry or on top of Sam. And then Henry asks Sam like, "Hey, are you okay?" And Sam's like, "Whew, yeah." That was a close one.
It's all through gameplay too.
It's all through.
I can't stress enough. Like the storytelling this game does through gameplay is for this time for 2013 was so impressive, and it established the groundwork for like gaming in general going forward.
Yeah, because it doesn't narrow it down. It doesn't do like a full cutscene between Henry and Sam, just so you know, like, hey, this is what happened. But it kind of leaves it a little bit subtle. Sam says he's okay, and you're like, oh, okay, he's cool. It's not until later that night that you're like, oh, fuck. But before that, we get a great heartwarming sequence when they made it to the satellite tower. They're just chilling, heating up some beans. Ellie brought that toy that she got from Pittsburgh to Sam, and Sam and him are just playing around. But then when it's time to go to sleep, Sam looks at the toy and he throws it against the wall. And you're like, oh no.
Oh, no.
Like, why is he slamming this toy against the wall? This is a great heartwarming moment. Joel and Henry are bonding. Sam and
Ellie are bonding.
Were just bonding.
The fire,
But then he's upset. He's throwing a toy against the wall, and then the next morning, everybody's fine, and Ellie's like, "I'll go wake up Sam."
Oh no.
Cut to, Sam, what are you doing? I'm like, no, stop it.
They're doing it.
They're doing it. I'm like, it's so hard. I can't even. I wish.
Then
I could
that
remember.
happens. Then something even more shocking happens.
Something
with
more shocking happens. Yeah.
Henry like being in distress where he kills himself, which is crazy.
It's so heartbreaking.
Is Henry the one who kills Sam?
Yes.
Yeah.
The older brother.
And
has
he's
to
like
kill the
so
older brother.
in the feels about it and so destroyed that he offs himself.
It's so amazing because Joel immediately goes for his gun. But then as he goes for the gun, Henry shoots the gun, and Joel's like, dude, calm down.
Yeah.
It's like Ellie's right now being tackled by Sam.
Because like he probably thinks he's the one that has to do it.
Yeah. So then Henry
or he's not
shoots
doesn't
Sam.
need like he's still like confused on what's going on.
Yeah. Henry shoots Sam, and Henry's like, oh my god, my little brother. I'm like, oh my tears. And then he offs himself.
To the dam, right?
Cut to the dam. We meet Gabriel Luna. No.
I have the scene.
We meet Tommy. Oh, sweet.
I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I love this scene. Because again, Joel and Ellie have been through a lot right now. And Joel is denying the call. And he's going to give himself away.
We didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him.
Ugh.
He's my goddamn brother.
Tommy.
Holy shit.
Oh, the music too.
Goddamn.
It's a new track, by the way.
Oh, that's
You're fucking old.
notation.
Hey.
My goddamn.
See, I was doing these clips for an edit, so I wasn't letting the whole scene go on.
Oh, that's fine. No. That's fine.
That's fine.
But yeah, I love this moment.
You're fucking old.
It's so great. What's her name again? I forget his wife's
happened to
name.
you?
Sarah.
Is it
Right,
Sarah?
no, Sarah.
This is Maria.
Maria.
Oh,
Very nice to her.
Maria. There we go.
She
Thank
sorta-
you. Thank you, Clip.
Run.
But yeah, Maria's great. Played by a black actress now on the show. Oh my god, they're changing the game. She's supposed to be white. Ah! No. That's exciting. That's cool to see. But yeah, I like this moment a lot because Joel immediately is like, Tommy, we gotta talk. And Tommy's like, okay. Like Tommy has a lot more responsibility now. Again, the subtlety of the game is that Joel and Tommy haven't been talking much in those past 20 years. Like, as a person who I have a brother, twin brother, like, I can't imagine I'm talking to my brother for 20 years. Like, what went down between them? The game doesn't really dive into that. You kind of get it from Cliff Notes that Tommy wanted something to believe in. He fell in line with the Fireflies. Joel didn't really want to get into that. But then Tommy fell out of the Fireflies. So it's like, what's going on here? And Joel's like, he falls into places and he takes himself off. He doesn't have any responsibility. But then Joel thinks Tommy is like this person who doesn't carry responsibility. But then as Tommy shows Joel this whole thing that he's created, he's created like the dam and everything like that. Like Tommy does have a lot of responsibility. He does have a lot of people that he's in charge of now, which is kind of the opposite of what Joel initially thought Tommy as. And then he tries to give away Ellie to Tommy. And it's so interesting because he says, like, Tommy, you owe me one. And Tommy's like, I don't owe you jack shit. Like, I'm not going to take away your burden just because you can't handle it, Joel. So Tommy initially declined, but, like, through the course of their argument, Tommy says, like, I'll consider it.
Yeah. And that's, like, the first crack in, like, Ellie's and Joel's relationship, like when she runs away and
yeah, exactly.
The house in the middle of the forest or whatever.
Exactly, which is one of my favorite scenes. I wonder if Josh has a clip of that because it's probably my favorite scene of the game. But yeah, it's like the chaos happens, people try to attack the dam, blah 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 blah. But then when Joel is like talking and saying like Ellie might have to go with Tommy, something along those lines. Like you said, Edgar, that's when she runs away, goes into the forest. And when we get to the house, this is peak. This is just peak because it's Joel confronting his demons, and it's Ellie confronting, challenging Joel, saying like, "I'm not Sarah," and this is because by this point, Ellie has known about Sarah like from her experiences with Joel, and that's when Joel says like, "You're treading on mighty thin ground there, like." You don't go down this path. Like, be quiet. You don't know. You have no idea what loss is. Like, this is where you get that line. Like,
I have that clip also.
Yes, I was wondering. I was like, I told Edgar, I was like, please, because this is my favorite scene in the entire show or movie, game.
All right, I read up.
It's great because, like I said, it's Joel getting challenged on his beliefs from the entire game so far. It's like because he does care. He does care about Ellie.
Tommy knows this area.
That I'm gonna end up like Sam. I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Whew. Ooh.
Not her.
It almost feels that it.
Yeah.
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie.
Ooh. Turning on some mighty fine eyes.
Mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel.
Ooh.
I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss
is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me.
Left behind.
Everyone fucking except for you.
Oh, tears.
Push.
The push.
Don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
Oh.
You're right.
You're right.
You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
Guardians Volume 2.
We are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
And the fascinating thing is that like that's the scene they use for auditions. And I don't know if you've seen the incredible documentary that they did for the first game. It's on YouTube, but like Ashley Johnson was telling the stories that like she was frustrated with different scene partners. Then Troy Baker came in and she had the comfortability to like push him during the audition, and that's where that dynamic really started to form, and that's how he got hired.
Awesome.
It's interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the doc, but holy shit. Yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes of the game because it's Ellie being extremely vulnerable to Joel, but it's Joel, and by the same time, she's challenging Joel's beliefs. Like, I'm not Sarah. Like, I can't die from this disease. Even though we'll see towards the end of the game that idea gets challenged. But then like we see her vulnerabilities where she's saying like she's starting to care for Joel. Everybody has left her. Like we know from their experience, we know Riley, her own mother, Marlene. Like these people have left her in her life, but Joel has been stuck with her for the past couple of months or weeks at this point. And she has such a close bond. She doesn't want to let that go. She doesn't want to have to put her love and faith and belief into somebody else all over again. She wants to keep Joel, and Joel keeps wanting to push her away because he does admit at the end, like, you're not my daughter and I'm not your daddy. Like that kind of stuff. But it's not projecting, but he's trying to convince himself.
Yeah, he's not talking to her really. He's talking to himself in that scene, in that entire scene.
Exactly. And there's a part that comes up a lot in part 2 when characters do that a lot in part 2 where they really want to project. But it's so great because he's really hurting. He doesn't want to hurt again. And he wants to cherish, I don't know, he wants to cherish the bond that him and Ellie have, and he doesn't want her to die. He doesn't want to be responsible. So he wants to push it all away. He wants to keep pushing it all away. But it's not until like after this cutscene on top of the cliffside, he sees like the settlement, the sanctuary that Tommy has built, and then he changes his mind at the last second. He says like, get on my horse, we're gonna go to the university together. And it's a very, very, very heartwarming scene. And leading up to that, it's very quiet. You get the great sunset where they're on the horse, just slowly going back home. You're like, oh man, what's gonna happen? But then, he changes his mind. It's great. Like this is the pinnacle of the game here between Joel and Ellie, and everything after this changes. Like they become a real partnership. They become a real bond after this moment of vulnerability. It's just so beautiful. I love that scene so much. But then we go to the university to meet the Fireflies. La-di-do-da-day. They're not there. And we learn that they might have gone to the Utah hospital, not to the.
And then,
the
iconic moment.
And then we get the fall.
The fall,
which before we knew the structure of the show, I would have been really interested if they ended this season 1 on the cliffhanger Joel falling. That would have been really interesting.
That would have been wild because we talked about that. Like, what a cliffhanger that would be. It's still going to be a good cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, he falls. Blood's everywhere. I always love changing the costume on Joel once he falls. Because if you put Joel onto a T-shirt at this level, you can see the blood everywhere. It's crazy. Blood is like usually like in the game, he's wearing like that plaid red big long sleeve shirt. And you can't really see the blood. But if you wear the T-shirt, you can see the blood coming everywhere. It's crazy. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is awesome because this is the game. This is the narrative structure saying like this whole game you've had Joel take care of Ellie. Now the roles are reversed, and Ellie will have to take care of Joel. So yeah, then you have Ellie taking care of Joel.
The bunny scene, iconic scene.
Bunny scene, iconic. I always love new gamers. Like, oh, there's a bunny.
Memes.
Ah, shit. It's great. But yeah, I love Hunter Ellie. I love Hunter Ellie alone. It reminds me of like the classic like Avatar: Last Airbender Zuko alone episode. It's like Ellie alone, basically. By herself, having to care for Joel, but he's nowhere to be seen. And then she runs into David, and David's kind of like this mysterious character. You don't really know what he's doing. Immediately, you're like weary of him, though. You're wary of him.
Yeah. Not
like,
to be trusted.
Not to be trusted.
Strangers danger.
But this is Nolan North. This is Nathan Drake.
One of his best performances, too.
Great performance here because you're like, whoa, I had no idea that was Nolan North until the credits roll at the game. I'm like, David is what? Nolan North? What? That's wild to me. You're right. One of his best performances. But yeah, I love this because Ellie is face to face with like what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, that true human terror. And she like goes toe to toe with David. David's such an interesting character because it's like, does David eventually want to kill Ellie? I don't know. He kind of had a soft spot for her. We don't know what would have happened if Ellie kind of succumbed to David's, not demand, but David's like words. Like if she would have been fine with him, would she eventually have been eaten? Or would she have been part of the crew? Because David had a soft spot so much so that his other right-hand man, other people were like, David's got to go. Like, this guy, he's trusting Ellie. Like, he's got to go. Like, as you're Ellie and you're sneaking by, you hear these conversations from the other hunters, like, David's kind of weird. And, like, why does he have a soft spot for Ellie? It's kind of weird and interesting. I wonder how the show would play for that. Because I always thought about that. Like, I can see Troy Baker having a big argument with David in the show that we don't see in the game. Like, you are too close to Ellie. This girl, she's going to be the death of us. Like, I can have that. I can envision that in the
show. They will probably play it out more because of the whole nature of, like, humans being terrible and wanting to play it off more in the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that reveal, like, the fact that they're all about cannibalism, like,
Timothy?
In the jail cell, that scene is so good. Army?
Bones and all? Somebody call what's his name? Who is he?
Army Hammer.
Army Hammer. Oh boy.
Mark Rylance.
Mark Rylance.
He would have been a cool David after seeing Bones and all.
Oh my god.
Oh man, I would have loved that. That'd been awesome. But yeah, we get the iconic moment in the game. She's been alone this entire time. Oh, by this point, Joel was healed up. We get in great.
I just want to mention the scene, like the cut from Joel falling to the rabbit. And seeing Ellie alone in the forest, like, is Joel dead?
Yeah, like, we don't know.
Yeah, the disbelief, like, it's so good.
Do you have that clip?
I don't have the clip. No.
Oh, I thought you said you had the clip. But yeah, it's very jarring because like it's like, come on, Joel, get up, don't leave me here. Like, come on, like, what do I do? What do I do? It's like she's now like I can't imagine that kind of like how scared you must be. Like, this is a grown man you have to care for, find meds for. Now that we know in Left Behind, prior to her encountering David, we get the whole sequence of Left Behind. of her looking for meds and stuff like that. That all takes place before she meets David, where she goes in the mall and all this stuff.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they'll probably do chronologically.
Yeah.
Obviously throughout the show, where like it'll be her, then it'll be cutting to the stuff with Riley.
Yeah, that'd be powerful as hell. That'd be great.
Quick side note. For the Critics' Choice Awards are on, so I'm gonna be watching in the corner. So there might be some award stuff in this Last of Us podcast.
Breaking news.
Oh, the best song already happened. That already happened.
Did it? I know the Last Onion won an ensemble.
I just got a notification.
Which is crazy.
Onion won ensemble. Did it just start?
It was like before.
Aren't they 5 minutes early? Interesting.
It's not even live on my stream I have, but whatever. Not won best song.
Yeah. Best comedy was Glass Onion. Best acting ensemble was Glass Onion too. I thought would have had everything everywhere. Interesting. Awesome. But yeah, please interrupt for more awards. But yeah, when she encounters David, and at this point, David has kind of had her back a little bit. So much so, like I said, the others were upset about David, like David's not fit to rule, kind of thing. But then when Ellie betrays her, cuts him, David gets pissed, and that's when we encounter David in the inn. And he goes feral. He goes crazy. It's one of the scariest moments of the game. Right?
I think that was the most difficult part for me to get through. Like just like hiding.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest
attacking.
parts. Like gameplay wise,
stepping on the glass. You're like, oh my god, it's so annoying.
The plates.
The plates. Yeah, I said glass. But yeah, the plates. It's so freaking scary. You scratch him once, he's like, okay. Scratch him twice, and he gets on his knees. I'm like, oh, don't get on your knees. Like, what's going on here? It's even more scary. What are you, an alien? It's so interesting. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but then she ends up through an altercation. She ends up killing David. She doesn't just kill him; she is relentless.
I don't have the clip, but that scene is like some most like raw acting I've seen in a game, like between Ashley and Troy.
Yeah, it's there's so many layers here. So she's unleashing on him with the knife, the big we'll call it, not scimitar, but like big butcher knife, basically. She's unloading on him. Joel takes her in and like, it's okay, it's me. Then he says the two words, "It's okay, baby girl." Oh my god. Like that's
there it is. The connection is formed.
That's huge. He hadn't said those words since the prologue with Sarah. Baby girl, that was big. And apparently from Troy, that was like on the day thing. That wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
He'd end up saying baby girl, and Neil was like, oh, I love it. And yeah, like that's big. And at this point, we get to the last level of the game, and he is so happy. It's so interesting because
here, let me bring up.
Yeah.
We did through like this I think we through the Utah stuff, right? And the hospital, or like we notice Ellie's kind of down. There's
she's
something
down.
going on.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. She's struggling if like does she want to go through with this? Like
that's
probably the internal struggle.
Does she want to go through with this? Is she nervous? And Joel's taking that in, like
the responsibility finally like sinking in.
The responsibility.
Yeah. And the way it goes through gameplay is like Ellie or Joel like telling her to like, hey, here's the ladder, lift me up, and she's like kind of lost in thought.
He's like waiting. He turned around. It's like, what's going on? It's very funny.
And then,
but I also real quick, I also think it's her still traumatized by what she did to David. Like,
yeah.
She's still like, oh fuck, like that was such a traumatizing experience for her. For Joel, it's like, hey, I killed a lot of people, but for Ellie, like this was her first big murder sequence, and she was pretty uncomfortable with it. But yeah, now she sees the light with the giraffe.
And here's probably the last happy moment and one of the most beautiful moments in gaming.
Probably the last happy moment between those two, for sure.
Yeah.
You see that?
The music in this scene is just stunning.
The lighting,
I won't.
What are you doing?
It's all right. Come here. Hey, fella. Hurry up. Come on.
Hey there. So fucking cool. Oh, where's it off to? Here, come on, let's go.
Slow down, kiddo.
Oh, man. Wow.
And then this is all done through gameplay. It's not like a
All gameplay.
pre-rendered cutscene. Like,
yeah. I love that line of him, that he's like not too fast or whatever. Like, it's like not just like him telling, like, trying to like discipline her, but like also like the quicker they get there, the quicker he's gonna get rid of her, and
exactly,
he kind of doesn't want that anymore. So
like their time together is fleeting.
Exactly.
It's got its ups and downs.
And this is where he says, like, we can walk away from this. Like, this is him saying we can walk away. We don't have to go through with
you,
it.
though.
Yeah. It's great. Just admiring the view.
Pete.
Just the peaceful tranquility of the world right here.
Yeah, and like Gustavo Santaella's stores is like, I'm so glad he's coming back for the show.
It's great.
And like once we get to the scene in the show, I'm gonna be like tears, just
Same
nonstop.
It reminds me of this Uncharted 4 sequence that I love. Quick tangent, but it's when Nathan is rescued by Ellie in Uncharted 4 on the island. They're going up this like elevator in the jungle with the car behind them, and they're just overlooking the jungle. And Nathan's like, "Thank you for coming back for me. Like, I don't deserve you, but thank you for coming back." And Ellie's like,
Evelyn, right? Is that her name? No,
no. I'm blanking on his wife, Nate, and
Elena.
Jesus Christ, thank you. Elena is like, I will always be there for you, like no matter what. And it's such a beautiful sequence. And it reminded me of this sequence where it's like, yeah, Joel is finally saying, like, I love this girl. And just like he did in the rest of the game, he wants to deny losing her again. He doesn't want to go through with losing her. So he says, like, we don't have to go through with this. But it's Ellie the one saying, like, no, we traveled all this way. It can't be for nothing. And that's big because at the end of the game, he comes up with that decision. And as they meet, chaos happens, blah, 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 blah. They finally meet the Fireflies, and Marlene has a sit down with Joel. And man, this scene is hits. Especially with
in the hospital, right when he wakes up, right after the subway sequence where they get separated, kind of, or like where Jordan's knocked out, right?
Yeah, exactly. He gets knocked out.
Isn't it like get like drowning? Like there's like a bus or the subway.
Yeah, that was all prior to that. Like they're drowning. He rescues her. He's like doing heart compressions. Then they knock him out. They rescue Ellie. He's like, oh, thank God she's fine. Marlene's there at his bedside. And in the context of part 2, this is right after she was just told by the doctor, John. I think his name was John. Whatever, Abby's father. Abby's father, that we learned in part 2, was the one to convince Marlene to kill Ellie. Marlene didn't initially want to go through with this. But that's context we learned in part 2. So I'm very interested because in part 1, it seems like, no, I have. In part 1, you learn that Marlene doesn't want to do it. If you listen to the tape recorders, like Marlene is saying, like, I promised Ellie's mom that I would take care of her, but I also promised the world, and I have to do what I have to do. Like, those are kinds of things that you listen to on the tape recorders, and it's added to in part 2. So I'm very curious to see how they play that in part 1 or in the show.
Quick side note, just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Because we're already almost 2 hours, do we want to just keep this at part 1, then do part 2 another time?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That works.
And maybe after the series or before season 2 or something.
Yeah, definitely. Because as you know, I could talk about part 2 for 3 hours.
I know. Part 2 is going to be like probably 3 hours.
I feel like I have to replay part 2 in order to get into it.
Yeah.
I'll replay part 2. I'll post it on YouTube. But yeah, it's this ending here is so emotional because Marlene is telling Joel, like, I'm sorry, but the thing about her disease is that it corrupts the brain. And Joel's like, no shit, I already know that. She's immune. But they're like, but in order to get the immunity, whatever it's called, the antidote, we have to go into that brain and remove it. And Joel's like, this is gonna kill Ellie. Yeah. Connecting 1 + 1 = 2 kind of thing. Yeah. He's like, no way. And of course he's super angry. They push him down, and Marlene's like, I'm sorry, this is what I have to do. Basically, I'm cutting through a lot of stuff. But yeah,
and
then
like this is such a fascinating part, like gameplay wise, because you have to struggle with the opinion on this, and like having to play as Joel, like killing all these people, like is really kind of hard.
Yeah, like initially when I first playing this, I'm like, let me at him. I'm going through. I'm murdering everybody I come across. You will not touch me, because I'm like, I love Ellie to death at this point. Everybody who's playing probably does, and you don't want anything bad to happen to her.
You feel like the hero of the story, just like Joel feels like it probably.
And then part 2 comes in and is like,
no,
are you the actual hero? And I haven't played this game since I've played part 2, so I'm interested to go back and see how that feels.
It feels weird
because the context.
Because part 2 begins real quick, but Joel was telling Tommy what he did in the hospital.
Yeah,
and the way the part 2 portrays it, you see like dead people in the hospital. Like he's Joel's talking to Tommy about this, and he's like, "Oh shit, brother!"
And
like,
he has that guilt.
Joel has that guilt, but then he says like, "I did what I had to do,"
and we know that. Wait, is that scene before or after the talk with Ellie and Joel about it in part 2? Because that's back in the past, right? That's before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume Joel was telling Tommy this as soon as they get to.
Okay.
And then
that's Tommy before or like before Ellie finds out and before their 100%. Dynamic is fractured. Yeah.
This is way before Ellie finds out. This is when like, hey, I just dropped off Ellie. I'm glad to be here. Let me just tell you what just happened, bro. Kind of thing.
We'll get to
that
deep
later.
Dive of part 2 eventually. Yeah, because we could talk about that game for hours.
But it's just crazy because you, like Edgar said, you feel like you're the hero. You feel unbeatable. And I love this level so much because I'm always trying to conserve my ammo, and I get to unleash on everybody. I'm using bows and arrows, shotgun, Molotovs. You're burning like. I'm letting people go.
Isn't this the part of the game where you get like a machine gun, like for the first time?
Yes. Yeah, you get the automatic machine gun. The recoil is insane, but you get the machine gun and you get to unload. Yeah, it's great on a gameplay level because you can choose to sneak by everybody here. Yeah, like there's an option to sneak by a lot of people here, but you don't.
Yeah, and that's another part of the level that adds to the whole. Oh, I feel like a hero. Like you're finally given this like super quick, powerful weapon, and you again it's kind of tricking you into feeling like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna walk through these guys, but like when you replay it, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be.
Maybe I shouldn't. This. And it's so good. It's hard to talk about this level without talking about part 2 a little bit. But I've had friends text me like after they played part 2, and they're like, man, like you're right, Joel wasn't really like, because it brings this whole level into context. My friends texted me like, damn, I've heard people on the internet say they're upset with Joel passing, but it's like Joel wasn't a great guy. And you're like, no, yes or no. Like Joel's doing just like everybody in this freaking maybe minus David. Everybody in this freaking world has their light in their dark. And Joel choosing to save Ellie by murdering all these people. It's not great.
And Marlene, like
does it mean he deserves to die? No. But I understand why Abby thinks he does. And that's all that matters.
Is the consequences part of the consequences.
But yeah, like this whole level is just so enticing. It's so important. And then
I haven't played part 1 obviously yet. I've said that. Do they put Abby's dad in that scene? Like, can you notice him?
Yeah, I think the voice actor wise, yes. Yeah. Okay. I think they said the voice actor is back for they redubbed it. He's still covered in all that like surgical stuff. Okay. You can't really see it. I still shoot him with the shotgun. Sorry, Abby. No golf clubs here. But yeah, I shoot him up.
Then we get to like, I think the drive obviously happens. Then
oh my god!
Eventually, when they get to Jotson.
Oh wait, we murder Marlene too, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Marlene's like,
I have that
clip.
Live. Not like. I won't show it. It's not really much.
It's not. Yeah, it's not much. But like Marlene's like, just let me live. Like we won't keep coming for her.
And the way it's edited between the drive and that, it's just
it's great.
Peek.
It's great editing. It's kind of like we were talking about La La Land. Every scene's the best scene.
Every scene's the best scene.
Like Josh talked about that cut between Joel making that decision and then him looking back at Ellie is like, this is all what it's for. I can't take that risk of Marlene
and then
coming back for us.
We did the last scene of Ellie, like we play as Ellie, right?
Yes.
The first time, yeah, we play as Ellie again. And she's obviously like doesn't know what happened and kind of frustrated with that. So we did that conversation. She asked him, I forgot what the quote, but like, did you lie to me?
Yeah.
But say the truth.
I just want you to know everything that you told me, was it true? And Joel was like,
said, yeah.
Yes. And she's like, okay. Credits.
Oh!
I remember watching that like, give this game every award in the book. This game was incredible. Like, just simple, okay. And it's great. And to have that line of dialogue be the centerpiece for part 2, like, did you tell me the truth? Yes. Okay. That's the whole crux of part 2. And I'm so happy that they did that. That's so important to Ellie's character. Like, there's a part of her that's missing. Like she said to Joel at the giraffe, like, it can't all be for nothing. That's her character. Like, she feels like she's so responsible for all this death and it cannot be for nothing. But then she has come to love Joel and Joel has come to love her. It's such a personal story. I always talk about this, the macro and the micro in storytelling. And the macro of it all is like humanity is suffering and our key to our salvation is in this little girl. But the micro here is that Joel loves Ellie and Ellie loves Joel. Are we willing to take that away? What are you willing to sacrifice? It's also powerful. You don't really know. In the game, part 1 and part 2, they don't give you a clear-cut answer. It leaves us for like the podcast that we're having right now. It lets us have these discussions.
Exactly.
Which is so valuable, so interesting that we don't get in a lot of other games.
That's what's so special about art and like why this game is a story above other games and why it was so groundbreaking for that era.
Exactly.
It like leaves you wondering. It's like really like it leaves you thinking.
It does.
It's not just like shoot, winner.
Shoot,
good guy, bad guy. But
it's one of those games that really made me realize just how much of an art form video games are in and of itself.
There's obviously it's not the first game to have a great story. Obviously.
No,
it's the one that changed gaming. Like to have for single player narrative games.
The cinematic narrative of it all.
Yeah.
Also because of how much of a serious, straightforward, well, not really straightforward, but like dark story it is. Like, it has like its moments of like lighter moments, but it's one of those games that stayed with you and really made you rethink. At least it did with me. Like rethink like what type of games I want to play in the future. Do I just want to keep playing every single Call of Duty game and just shoot them up, or do I just want to be characters?
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean that's why I like the recent God of War games. Have really it felt like a Last of Us game because they're like very cinematic.
Did you play Ragnarok?
I haven't finished it. I switched over to Crisis Core Final Fantasy. I've been playing that. I'm about to play God of War after I platinum Crisis Core. But
is there a secret movie
in Crisis Core?
Yeah.
Nah.
No.
Nothing different. I still bawled my eyes out at the end of Crisis.
I need to play it.
It's great. But yeah, I mean, I love this game. Like Edgar's saying, like it really says like what kind of games do you want to play? And I love playing fantasy, other kinds of games, but games like this also I love as well. And they keep bringing me back, and hopefully there's a part 3 so we can continue this.
There's rumors, and like it made sense to do a part 3.
Part 3 with the PS6, baby.
Or end of PS5 like it was for part 2.
Yeah, 2027. Yeah. But yeah, this was fun. I love talking about this series. It's so personal, raw, exciting. Like it's an emotional roller coaster. I love everything about it. It's not just
I'm
darkness.
so
it's happy.
Fascinated how it translates to the small screen.
Yeah,
TV.
I think Pedro and Bella are going to be great. I think everybody's going to be great.
I said this on an earlier podcast, but like I recently watched Catherine Told Birdie, which is like starring Bella Ramsey, and she fucking crushes that, and like just reassured my faith, and like she's gonna crush this.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
we have less than 2 hours to go, guys.
That's it for this discussion on Last of Us Part 1. We'll be back with probably definitely a longer episode with Part 2, maybe right after the season ends.
3.5 hours.
Probably like so much to talk about in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun discussion. Evan, where do people find you?
Find me on Twitter at HarrisEV9. I won't be live tweeting the show, but I'll give my reaction after the show. Ends at like 10:30 because it's an hour and a half.
Oh god, okay. We have best foreign language film right now.
First choice. Oh, it didn't
They're
win
announcing it.
They're announcing it.
All right, Edgar, where do people find you?
Yeah, Edgar, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd at EDGORTEG. You can find some of my work at Loud and Clear Reviews. You can check my review on House of the Dragon, the physical 4K Blu-ray copy of it. So that's a pretty lengthy review for a normal like usual individual review. But I mean,
RR1. Sorry, Edgar.
This man. No worries. I spent like 2 weeks working on it, so yeah, check it out.
Everybody watch it. It's a great review. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, it's a great review. Leave a like, leave a comment.
It's really detailed too.
Really detailed. I loved it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
me,
other than that,
you finish up.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna like segue to you, so might as well go for it.
Find me at Josh D. Woodbury on Twitter. Freaking out about these Red Choice Awards probably, and about The Last of Us tonight on HBO. Gonna be very exciting. There'll be knowing about that for the next month probably. Next 2 months actually, right? It's 9 episodes.
Yeah, it ends March 15th, I think.
12.
Next 3 months.
15, something like that.
To be obsessing that over March that 12th. And award season. So if you like both those things, follow me over there. And you follow this podcast at WHFG Podcast on Instagram and Twitter for updates and announcements. We'll probably be doing. Oh yeah, might as well announce that we'll probably be doing weekly recaps and reviews for The Last of Us.
Can't wait.
And probably either tomorrow or Tuesday is when we'll have the first one. Not sure when yet.
I'm free all day tomorrow. Happy birthday, MLK. I got my day off.
And awards season stuff definitely probably this week, right? Because Oscar noms are next week. So we'll have to do, yeah, it's Tuesday.
So yeah, we can do our final predictions on
maybe like Thursday or something.
Thursday, Friday, yeah, like last week. Oh man, Oscar noms are coming up. Josh, I'm not ready.
These Critics' Choice Awards too on that episode.
Yeah, I'm not ready with my predictions. I don't know. What are those 8, 9, and 10 spots in this picture?
I have no idea.
No idea.
It's very fascinating. So if you like awards season coverage, though, check out that show.
Yep.
There's a clip of Matt Reeves and Tate Blanchett on my screen right now, so that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She's Poison Ivy in Batman 2. Oh my gosh.
I hope so. That'd be great.
That would be great.
And this outro specifically goes with this franchise. Heartbreak really does feel good with The Last of Us. So goodbye.
Bye-bye. 2 hours. Let's go.